Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading Rengoku Executioner by me. So let's get into it. Rengoku was someone who could be very protective of his partner, and that is something you knew very well, from the way he acted around you, and from the way that he could be very, very furious if someone just mistreated you in any manner. You were not upset with that. It was something you loved, and something that showed his love for you. But even then, as much as you trusted him and knew he loved you, it was an entirely different story to tell him about how your father was being. You knew his own father was horrible enough. You knew he was a Hashira and had a lot to deal with, so you were not going to burden him with your own life matters. There were far too many things for him to be busy with, and you were not going to add on to that. You were not going to add into his own regular turmoil, what with fighting demons and having to stand up to his own father a little bit too often. It was a bit much, and you were not going to ask that much of him. You didn't need him to help you. You were not a helpless damsel in distress. And Rengoku certainly did not need more issues in his life. That's what you repeatedly told yourself, and that's what you convinced yourself of. But it really was not that easy. And most of all, you knew you needed his help, or at least someone to talk to, no matter how much you denied it. It was difficult to shoulder all this pain alone. It was beyond impossible to be completely happy with all of that trauma that you carried, and all of these things hurting you. And eventually, despite what you thought, the truth would come to light, and you would know. You wondered what he would call you then. A liar? A faker? You had no idea. Or would he just feel pity and sympathy for you? Sympathy that you don't deserve. When lying to him so much, you always told him that your family cared greatly about you too, just so you wouldn't worry. But right now, as you watched him fade away into the distance, as you finally went home, well, you could only wonder. It didn't matter much, because he would never have to know. But then he knew. Your father doesn't hit you a lot, but when he does, he makes sure to leave a bruise. And that's why Rengoku found out, because you couldn't hide the last one very well. And he was stunned, staring for a couple of moments before looking at your face. Darling, you need to explain what's going on. Who did this? Who hurt you? And why? Oh, Rengoku, you noticed? It must be because I fell down the stairs. You know, I'm a bit clumsy sometimes. You're not. And you didn't fall down the stairs. You wouldn't be injured like this. Tell me the truth, Ryan. I deserve to at least know that. Fine, if you insist. You see, I was really in a bad position right now. My father isn't usually like this, but we had a fight and he got violent, I guess. But I'll be fine. I promise you. You say. And he's hurt by that. You'd be fine. Fine. Just what is fine about all of this? He has no idea, and doesn't even know what to say. And right then, he believes that he has to do something. He doesn't know how long you've been hiding this from him, but he will not allow this to go on any longer. Moyan, I'm sorry you had to go through this, but I'll allow it to happen no more. And that's when you give up hope of ever just trying to stop him from doing anything foolish, or creating a whole problem for himself. You didn't want him to get into a fight. You didn't want any of this to happen, and yet here it was, happening. Like you had any say in the matter. He was storming towards your home, and you could not just prevent him from going. Nothing you said was ever going to get him back. And so, eventually, you stopped trying. You gave up. And then, you heard the screaming and shouting from outside, and you could only wonder what expressions they had on their faces. You don't deserve her. She's beautiful. She's everything for me. And yet, you are hurting her. How dare you call yourself a father, when that's all you've done? He didn't care about what your father had to say back to him. He didn't want to listen to any of it. It was disgusting, to say the least. And Rengoku was not there for that. He wanted to make sure you'd be okay. He wanted to make sure that you would be safe. And also, that he at least defended you when you needed him. That was the least that he felt like he could do. And right now, as he did that, it was a bit of a challenge, because he knew that it was not going to be easy at all for either of you. After that, you may have to stay with him at home. Maybe it wouldn't be safe for you to return. But he was willing to take all the risks. He was willing to do anything if it means defending you and making sure that he's standing against what's happening. He was not going to let this continue. He was not going to just look on and see this happening without saying a single word. So, as he left, he wrapped his arms around you tightly and looked at you. I'm sorry, Juan. I'm sorry I didn't find this out sooner. But I promise, I will never let anyone hurt you ever again. You can trust me on that. And you knew you could. You knew, because he would never lie to you. And he knew you would always be safe with him, no matter what happened. Because he loved you and cared about you in ways that nobody else will. And for that, you also trust him when he takes you home, with him. And any problem that happens after, he will deal with it. For now, he just needs to make sure that you'll be safe. And that you're feeling okay after all of that fighting took place.